Welcome to Kaleidoscope. Let's talk. According to the Reboot Foundation, even though 94% of people believe that critical thinking is extremely important, 86% of them believe that those skills are largely lacking in the population. Less than 20% of people in a study of 40,000 faculty members in the American Council of Education were actually able to elaborate on what critical thinking is. The bottom line is, critical thinking is a need for people taking part in a democratic society and obviously paramount to leaders because it is the core of mindful decision making. With me today is Lalith Gunaratne, or as we know him, Lefty, and he is an advocate of mindfulness and also the need for critical thinking in leaders. He's back on our show after a year, and I caught up with him while on his short stay here in Sri Lanka. Why do you think Sri Lanka has not addressed critical thinking at leadership level?
Well, critical thinking is not something that's addressed anywhere in the world because our education system, which just focuses on science and technology and the technological side, so it doesn't lend itself to train people to think critically. So that's why. So it's a global issue, and it's an issue that starts from our education system.
What are you seeing in our leaders today, in both corporate and political leaders?
The business leaders have to deal with profit and then keeping the organization going, as well as meeting customer needs and all of that. So that requires a different set of skills, as you know, whereas a politician has a different set of skills to keep the masses happy and they go with the trends. But there's a nexus between corporates and politics right now, globally, in the democratic world, which is creating a problem for us right now, because politics is an arm of the corporate world right now.
So why do you think critical thinking is important in today's context of leadership?
There's a lack of it. That's why it's so important. The world's problems that we are facing right now, whether it's poverty, whether it's the conflicts, the wars, climate issues, all of that is as a result of us not thinking critically about things. It's about finding ourselves thinking in a short-term way, profit-oriented focus, and all of that is very much also us being conditioned to be on the left hemisphere of the brain. Left hemisphere of the brain is tyrannical, is objective-oriented, it gets things done fast, it takes shortcuts. So it doesn't lend itself to think about things in a much wider spectrum, so in a holistic way. So that focus of getting things done at any cost is what then prevents us from thinking critically. At the moment, things are happening so fast that we don't have time to think critically. So that's one of the biggest issues that we are having. Expectation for results is so it's sped up to a level that we cannot push back and think about things in a critical way.
Is there a difference between male and female leaders?
Yes, I mean the males and females think differently, obviously. We have a different biological makeup. The good thing is that the corporate world, the political world are now having men and women coming together, and that's a very important thing. 2,500 years of men running this world, we have brought it to the brink. So I think it's important that now that partnership culture takes place. In esoteric terms, it's called the age of Aquarius. It's the age of the partnership culture.
Who makes a better leader, a male or a female?
Having a combination, playing that role, the yin and yang, is an important way of moving forward. So that's why we need to see in our legislatures, we need to see in our corporations, women and men play that role together, and any others in between, right? They in between. Everybody has some attribute that they bring to the table. So we have the alpha male in the end of the spectrum, and the feminine, ultimate feminine on the other end of the spectrum, and everything in between. So I think it's about men getting out of the way now and enabling others to also come in and encouraging others to play a leadership role. And that I see that happening now, and I see the new generation is like that.
So Lefty, is the formula for critical thinking a one-size-fits-all?
No, not at all, because critical thinking simply is about pushing back and trying to understand what's being told to us or what we're reading. Whether somebody is trying to push an agenda, whether it's somebody's trying to push us to buy something or to support a certain political ideology or a religious ideology, whatever it is, that somebody who seems more powerful than us, more influential than us, can put something out, and if we don't think about it, step back and think about it and see whether does this make sense for me, for my life, for my livelihood, for my family, and for my health and well-being. And it is about then taking a step back and asking those questions of yourself. So essentially, the critical thinking process also is so if somebody, for instance, says something to the effect of, the house prices are going down right now, you better go and get some mortgages and buy some houses. So if you are going to blindly go and try to raise some money to buy houses, then you may get yourself into trouble. Critical thinking is to put that statement in a form of a question, where you can then answer two columns. Yes, house prices are going down and we should buy. No, house prices are not going down, we shouldn't buy. And then do the research that's required. So critical thinking process also is about reasoning. So there's a process there, if you break it down, inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning. So you see something that happens first, and then you deduce something, and then so there's a process involved in the critical thinking way of doing things. So I think that we have to educate, especially starting from a young age, to do that. Like anything else, it's a process that involves a bunch of steps, but involves our head, heart, and belly, our intuition too. So it's a holistic process that we're talking about.
How would a political or corporate leader hone their critical thinking skills?
So that's where I am a great proponent of the mindfulness practice. Mindfulness practice is really about stopping your thought process, stopping your mind and gaining the space. Even if you just take a deep breath and say, observe, like I said earlier, it takes 7 seconds. It takes you away from your left brain from being caught up in whatever thing that's coming at us. And we have the 6 senses that is the window to the world. And they're moving all over the place. So we have so many distractions that are naturally there. So as soon as you take a deep breath, what you're doing is you're honing in, reining in the 6 senses. So you have a better way and of looking at something more critically. And it is what you're also doing is, as soon as you do the breathing, you bring the mind and the body together. The mind and the body together, you have way more power because you're not distracted by all kinds of things that the world is trying to take your attention away from. So it's you start with a very simple process, and then you can then expand towards a critical thinking process. So I believe critical thinking and mindfulness really go hand in hand.
In a nutshell, if leaders employ critical thinking, what would the results be?
We'll have a much better world because, first of all, the world will slow down. So right now we have so many artificial constraints that have been put forward by us. So the quarterly profits that are required. So the stock markets have certain requirements, and it's all time bound. And time bound means scarcity mentality. So the whole world operates on this scarcity mentality. So we are all artificially told that everything is scarce, we better fight for what we want. And scarcity leads to fear. So we are driven by fear and scarcity. So we need to be able to transcend that. And unfortunately, the world, from the last 150 years in the age of Renaissance and then the industrial age, has created an economic system that is based on these fundamental principles of scarcity, which has to change because we're going to hit a wall as a world. And we are seeing that right now economically. We are seeing that with climate. So all of that, if we don't smarten up as human beings and think critically, the earth will just get rid of us. If you learn about yourself first and realize that you're one with nature, we won't make some of the crazy decisions that many of the political leaders and business leaders are doing to hurt the earth and the environment. When you hurt this earth and the water that we drink, I mean, it's a no-brainer, right?
So here's to more critical thinking. Thank you very much, Lefty. Did you know that Kaleidoscope is on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn? And remember to subscribe, follow, and like us for more.